Few decades have pop cultural footprints bigger than the 1980s, whose films aren't just popular, but are still also the subject of references in movies and TV shows all these years later. The impact of the 1980s movies that changed the world can still be felt, as some of them started franchises that Hollywood is still reluctant to let go of. New fans of film must see some 1980s movies, as they serve as the perfect introduction to both the critical and the commercial aspects of this form of entertainment. Many movies from the 1980s are highly quotable and are very easy to reference because of their popularity. Snappy one-liners, cheesy over-the-top dialogue, and witty catchphrases are peppered throughout 1980s cinema. 80s movies also feature some of the most catchy soundtracks that are still celebrated, such as the Top Gun soundtrack. It's for this reason that many memorable 1980s movies are associated with one song. Some elements of 80s cinema haven't aged well, and some films offer more substance on repeat viewings, so 1980s movies often get better with every rewatch. The Princess Bride, 1987. Buttercup and Wesley kiss in The Princess Bride. You know, some fantasy movies will be masterpieces within the first 10 minutes, and that storytelling gimmick in The Princess Bride, which has since been copied by many filmmakers, remains one of the most iconic movie openings in the genre's history. It's also a classic medieval adventure that invites you to get lost in its wondrous world for 100 minutes. If the classic tropes and the heartwarming story of love triumphing in the form of bravery aren't enough reason to rewatch The Princess Bride, you also notice more fascinating details in characterization every time, especially in the fiercely rebellious Princess Buttercup. She's a trailblazing character in a genre that often reduces women in her position to meek victims of circumstance. Footloose, 1984. Kevin Bacon as Ren McCormack extending his hand to dance in Footloose. Much like Kevin Bacon's feat in his breakthrough film, the plot of Footloose can feel very loosely developed at times. The world-building and narrative development are minimal, serving to set the stage for the electric dance sequences that make every viewer groove in their seats, swept up by Bacon's enthusiastic invitation to cut Footloose, with Kenny Loggins' unforgettable title song. However, with every rewatch, as the music starts becoming familiar, and the film gradually turns into a sing and dance along, the paper-thin plot's genius starts revealing itself. The loose characterization and the unwillingness to flesh out more details serve to make it one of the most iconic dance movies ever, which Chris Pratt would hilariously reference 3 decades later as Peter Quill. The Empire Strikes Back, 1980. Luke Skywalker vs. Darth Vader in Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. As one of the greatest movie sequels ever made, The Empire Strikes Back is a natural favorite among fans of Star Wars. It features a heartwarming and hilarious training arc, the best response to "I love you," and the most iconic moment in all of Star Wars, in the form of a classic movie quote that everyone gets wrong. The balance of action, philosophy, thrills, politics, drama, and comedy makes The Empire Strikes Back an all-time classic that also reminds you why you fell in love with Star Wars every time you watch it. The film offers something to viewers with all kinds of tastes, and it's still celebrated as arguably the greatest sci-fi movie of all time. Top Gun, 1986. Maverick, Goose, Iceman, and Wolfman in Top Gun 1986. At first glance, Top Gun is only for action movie enthusiasts, as it seemingly doesn't offer much beyond the high-octane flight scenes and daring escapades, which put you right in the middle of some intense Navy aircraft maneuvers and war tactics, which are still somewhat simplified in typical Hollywood fashion to create the intoxicating spectacle that audiences come to see. However, the adrenaline rush of the set pieces even wins over viewers who have no love for the action genre with more revisits. Viewers will also discover a newfound appreciation for the timing of the dramatic moments, from death to romantic interlude. Every time you rewatch Top Gun, you appreciate its cheesiness and feel the need for speed even more. Airplane. 1980. Leslie Nielsen looks on in Airplane. The most celebrated of Zucker, Abrahams, Zucker, ZAZ's comedy movies, Airplane, is one that'd never get made today, especially because of the few bits that don't live up to today's standards of acceptable comedy. However, it features some pure genius movie quotes, delivered with the most deadpan flair by Leslie Nielsen, which helped him break through as a comedic actor. The more you watch Airplane, the more you realize that the parody of disaster movies doesn't just operate on a superficial level. The repeated gags, which still manage to elicit laughter every time, demonstrate the trio's fantastic writing skills, which become easier to appreciate with every rewatch, as the initial knee-jerk reaction of offense in today's climate slowly wears off. The Fly, 1986. Jeff Goldblum's character Seth Brundle worries as his skin peels off in David Cronenberg's 1986 version of The Fly. David Cronenberg's cinema is preceded by its reputation as being gory, harsh, and often gross, but his filmography deserves a better reputation even among horror cinema skeptics. No other Cronenberg film perhaps features better evidence to support this claim than the 1986 creature feature, The Fly, despite also featuring what is one of the most gruesome 1980s horror movie deaths. The Fly isn't a spectacle of gore, and underneath the gross-looking exterior is a heart-wrenching story of scientific ambition, just like the protagonist's hybrid form with the fly hides a real human being underneath it. It's arguably Cronenberg's saddest film, and every rewatch reveals more subtle details that tie into the cautionary tale at the heart of the body horror. Akira, 1988. Promotional poster for 1988's Akira featuring Kaneda and his bike. The widespread influence of Katsuhiro Otomo's dystopian sci-fi anime film becomes even more apparent when you realize that we already have movies that are like live-action Akira, and most of them were made after it came out in 1988. It has an intoxicating essence, despite its story being so heartbreaking, and the world it's set in being so intimidating. The visual aesthetic is reason enough to fall in love with Akira. Its timeless social commentary and emotionally rich story further elevate its appeal. However, what makes Akira so rewatchable beyond the need to live in that visually stunning world is the chance to catch more aspects that have permanently changed the sci-fi genre every time you see it again. Do the Right Thing, 1989. Giancarlo Esposito as Bugjin, Out, Joie Lee as Jade, and Spike Lee as Mookie in a scene from Do the Right Thing. Rosie Perez, in her acting debut, wearing various outfits, including boxing attire and aggressively dancing to Public Enemy's Fight the Power, is a powerful image you never forget. Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing has one of the coolest title sequences of all time, which truly captures the spirit of the anti-racist movement in the 80s.